and welcome to the Waffle Hour Podcast, episode 15.
Episode 15?
Episode 15.
Oh my god.
If only we knew that last week.
What did we say last week? Did we say episode 13 last week, or did we say episode 15 last week?
We said episode 13 last week, and then I had to make our robot say episode 14 for the mic.
Oh. I thought it was funny.
I was hoping. This is episode 15 of the Waffle Hour Podcast. I am Gigger.
I'm Ben. Hello, listeners.
And there we go. Ben, why don't you tell us all about Legend of Korra seasons 2, 3, and 4?
I wanted to, but then it just occurred to me that we haven't actually talked about the thing that happened earlier this week, which was the Venture Brothers getting officially canceled.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's the saddest thing you've yet told me.
I didn't actually mean to bring it up during the podcast. I just forgot about it till now. I just figured I was going to talk about it on the podcast, and I just assumed you might have already known.
I did not. I don't look into stuff for shows I like. I just watch the shows.
So yeah, after 7 seasons and 16 years, it has been officially canceled by Adult Swim.
Do they have a reason why?
Not in particular. Adult Swim is playing a little coy. They seem to be acting like it's not necessarily their fault. They're saying that they're disappointed that it wasn't getting finished either. But there is a big acquisition by AT&T, so a lot of people are blaming AT&T. Yeah, and this makes me sad. Makes me really sad.
It doesn't make me sad.
No?
I'll tell you why. I don't think it's going to stay canceled.
You think it's going to be picked up by a streaming service or something?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for one, that'd be better, because then they have the funding to make this more frequently. But even more importantly, I think this move will show the fan base. Because the show has a fan base, you know?
Yes and no. It's not a huge fan base. It's always been the issue with this show. You take it compared to, like, Rick and Morty, which just, exploded. If that got canceled, then yeah, I wouldn't have any worry that it'd be picked up. With the Venture Brothers, I'm a little bit on edge.
You're making a good point, but I would like to counter that point with the fact that there's a Shaq Fu 2.
Yeah, well, I think about the show Hannibal, which was something I know a lot of people really, really liked, and when that got canceled, everyone talked about it getting picked up by a streaming service, but that was ages ago, and it still hasn't. So, what's happening there?
I don't know the show.
I can say that, like, the current rumors are that HBO Max is looking at it.
That's awful.
Yeah, that's probably the worst possible option, given the price of HBO Max and all that stuff, but
I don't know why Netflix wouldn't. I feel like that'd be a thing Netflix would go for.
Who knows? I mean, all the episodes are on Hulu. Maybe it would be Hulu that does it, but
Nah, Hulu's weird. Hulu doesn't do shit.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't want to just speculate or assume, because I just don't know. I'm really disappointed because there's lots of times in the series that the show could have been canceled, and that would have made for a fine ending. Like, they canceled after, I think it was season 4 ended with Operation Prom. That would have been a great, series finale.
Yeah, definitely.
But this just so happened to have ended on, like, the only big cliffhanger season finale they've ever done.
Yeah.
Which is really upsetting to me.
It's possible they did the cliffhanger for that reason.
They didn't know it was going to get canceled. They were working on the new season.
Oh, okay.
And this came as a big surprise and upset to them.
I knew back in the day when we were kids that would happen a lot with cartoons. Like, that's why Teen Titans left on a cliffhanger, because they were hoping that would be enough to get viewers in and get that next season.
Teen Titans is a weird one for me, because I watched a shitload of Teen Titans, and then I just fell off of it completely.
I actually have all the Teen Titans episodes.
Oh, yeah?
I've downloaded them to watch, and I've watched none of them. That was like 3 years ago.
See, I liked it a lot at first, and then I just went straight to hating it for no particular reason.
I don't hate it. I just, look at it and I go, I'm too old for that. And I don't think of that. And I know that's the stupidest thing I've ever said, because I watched and loved a billion cartoons. Gravity Falls is great. Over the Garden Wall is one of the best fucking animated things I've ever seen in my life. Mm-hmm. I love it. But I'm too old for Teen Titans?
It's that stupid weeb humor, dude. It's the not anime, we're trying to pretend to be anime kind of thing, and it just makes it... It's like a cringe barrier. That
it reminds me a lot of Soul Eater. The anime.
Soul Eater?
Soul Eater is an anime. I watched it when I was in high school, and when I was in high school it was great. And I've tried watching it multiple times since then, and I just can't anymore. It's just so... It's that level of slight cringe you just can't handle.
The slight cringe. The I'm too old for this type of cringe.
I hate that. I hate that barrier. I really do. But I can't help it. Look at it and I go, I can't watch it. Can't do it.
See, I don't think that was ever my issue with Teen Titans. If I wanted to watch Teen Titans, I would.
Sure.
There's no, like, cringe factor that I'd be embarrassed to, that would keep me from watching it. I just, at some point decided I didn't like Teen Titans, and that hasn't changed. I think it was a show that took itself far too seriously, whose jokes were not that funny. And, there were just some really annoying things about that show, particularly in that anime aesthetic, which was just dumb to me.
I have a problem with the anime aesthetic. I have a problem with them utilizing it to make the weird gags.
Yeah, the gags were not funny.
They weren't, and that was the problem. They were funny when I was a kid.
Yeah, because you're a kid. Kids are dumb.
And then they made Teen Titans Go, and everyone cried.
I mean, lots of people hate it. I know little kids fucking adore that show.
Oh yeah, dude, little kids love it.
Also, there's a certain meta humor to that show that people seem to really, really love.
I know they did an episode where they talk about Teen Titans, the original.
Yeah, and that's the best thing ever.
It was really, and they talk about how sad it is that they became what they are now.
I have just seen an out of context clip where I assume it had to do with time traveling, and it shows Robin murdering Bruce Wayne's parents. Well, putting a thing of pearls on him and then pushing him down an alley.
I looked into that. I was curious. Apparently, that happens in the movie where they they have to go back. They stopped a bunch of the superheroes from becoming superheroes, and that became a problem because the supervillains kept becoming a thing. So they go back in time and make the superheroes again, and one of the ways was by murdering Bruce Wayne's parents.
Yeah, well, that was a funny joke. If the entire show is that funny, I don't care how badly it depicts the legacy of Teen Titans, the serious drama action cartoon series.
I don't know. Teen Titans is one of those things that, if you like it, you will fucking adore it. That's going to be, your thing for life. It's going to be one of those things. And I don't have a problem with that. It's just, Teen Titans Go, it just rubs me the wrong way. Just because, what they... if they had done that with a different property, it'd be fine. But if it's funny, it's funny.
I just realized how depressing it is that I've waffled from talking about Venture Brothers to Teen Titans Go.
Yes, it is. It's very depressing. But, it's sad. That's the whole... I wish you had not told me that on podcast.
I'm just dwelling on depressing things. Teen Titans Go is a depressing thing.
I wish you hadn't told me that it got canceled on the podcast.
Yeah, sorry. I, for some reason, thought we talked about it when it happened.
But, I mean, like I said, I really feel like... I feel like something's going to pick it up. I don't know. Maybe I'm just wrong. It's totally possible that in a few months it'll be nothing. It'll be like Community. Or not like Community, the opposite of Community. And that's, that'll suck, but, I mean, I don't believe that the creators wouldn't, give you an ending, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I feel like they would put through the effort to make that happen. Based off of what little I know about them. So,
yeah. Well, the thing I know most about them is that Venture Brothers was their very personal passion project that they put more effort into than anything else that they worked on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why that's why every season took 2 to 3 years to come out, is because it took them 2 to 3 years to make, So, speaking of depressing things, The Legend of Korra.
Oh my god.
That's unfair. Again, listeners, I spent all of the last episode, not all of it, but my portion of the last episode, bitching about The Legend of Korra, and I want to reiterate, I think it's a good show. I think for the most part you'll probably watch it and you'll like it just fine. Most people are rewatching it and learning to love it, as I've said a bunch of times. But seasons 3 and 4. These are the 2 seasons that everyone regards as the good seasons. And I got to agree, they're, remarkably just higher in quality.
Sure.
But they are not without issue.
Nothing is.
So, season 3. Well, first, actually, I should probably talk about characters that I didn't really talk about before, which is Tenzin.
Yeah, Tenzin.
Tenzin and his family.
He was my favorite character.
Yeah, he's Aang's youngest son. He's the new last airbender. Well, his family are the last airbenders.
Yeah.
And I thought he was a little bit weird at first, but I grew to really like him as a character. His kids, on the other hand, I actually think are fucking hilarious. And maybe that's one of those things that I'm alone in. But
I thought you were going to be like, his kids, on the other hand, I fucking hate.
No, it's different. I thought I would hate it. Like, you look at his youngest son, who's this horrible goblin child, who just rambles incoherently and is just kind of gross, and he's just weird looking. He's got that horrible potato-shaped head, those big bug eyes. I just find him funny. I find him really goddamn funny. Well, they're kind of central to this season. So the big plot arc of this season is the return of the Airbenders. So again, I'm just going to spoil the whole damn thing for you. I hope you don't mind.
I don't. Viewers, spoilers, a warning.
Yeah, spoiler warning. Watch Legend of Korra. This is the best season. Everyone.
I don't know why
everyone agrees.
Viewers.
What's that?
We don't have viewers. We have listeners.
Listeners, please view The Legend of Korra.
I'm a fraud.
Yeah, we all knew this. We're both frauds. This is a podcast for frauds
truly
by frauds.
All right, Legend of Korra Season 3. Spoiler warning.
So, Airbenders have returned.
Sure.
Specifically, random people who never had any bending talents suddenly gain the ability to airbend out of nowhere.
That doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. The explanation is that it somehow had to do with the events of the last season, with the spirit gates getting opened, and the spirits being returned into the world, and the big fucking spirit kaiju battle in front of Republic City. It's a flimsy explanation. Nobody likes it, but I don't care. The thing is that the actual plot of, like, Tenzin going around trying to find these, like, spirit benders and convince them to join the new airbenders, the new airbending nomad nation, is something that I think anyone who likes Avatar is just going to get invested in, because you want to see the airbenders come back. And it's kind of an interesting story.
Sure.
But the twist on this is the villain. So the villain is this really, this politically charged terrorist dude who, of course, gets airbending powers. And he was already kind of obsessed with airbending philosophy. Like, he studied a lot of it. And he's kind of twisted that idea into his own dark ends. And his political ideology, to go with the rest of them, is anarchism.
Yes.
He believes in freedom above all else, and to him the natural order is disorder.
Okay.
And, you know, he's kind of unique in that he's the only one who just straight up says, he doesn't, like, literally say, I'm an anarchist, but he does, like, I am explaining to you my political views. I'm making it clear that this is representing anarchism.
Mm-hmm.
And he's probably the most interesting, compelling villain. He seems to be the most intelligent. They don't depict him, like, really off like they do. Like, I mentioned, Amon in the first season was, like, this horrible monster, and, you know,
slightly odd.
Varric was like a clown, but this is, like, a guy who seemed, like, very serious, and you could definitely see where he was coming from, and he seemed like, you know, knew what he was doing, and you had to really think about what was wrong. But the problem is, once again, the writers of the show don't know anything about political ideologies, especially not anarchism.
I guess.
As I've said before, if the other ideologies that they dissect were half remembered from their high school lessons, like, years ago before they wrote the show, anything they know about anarchism comes from Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight. Who is not an anarchist, and Christopher Nolan never meant for him to be an anarchist, or never claimed for him to be an anarchist. But that's essentially what they're depicting anarchism as, and that has nothing to do with real anarchism.
Okay.
And that's
weird.
really frustrating, once again.
So I would like to point out, and I will make this clear, of all the political ideologies you've talked about, anarchism is apparently the one I know the least about.
Yep.
My understanding is based on your explanation is just there should be no rules, let people be, you know?
Not necessarily. There shouldn't be... What they don't want is hierarchies. They don't want people ruling over other people.
Right, okay.
They
I got
have
you.
governments in the form of, you know, communities that all work together and work on equal terms, is the thing.
I immediately understood when you said no, like, higher power.
Yeah.
Because when you said initially the thing, what I thought immediately was, what if someone, like, the strong will just conquer.
Mm-hmm.
But if that's the whole point of it not being that, then that makes sense.
Exactly. And in the show, his big master plan is to just assassinate the Earth Queen and then tell everybody, hey, the Earth Queen is assassinated, do what you want, and then chaos ensues. As if, a major leader has never died before in the history of the series.
Nope, never once.
Nope.
What was that? The Fire Lord? Nope, he didn't die.
Yeah.
He didn't die. Aang didn't kill him.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. He kills the queen, and then suddenly, like, the Dai Li just decide they don't care, and they're gonna do whatever they want, and the palace guards all, like, leave, and they start looting the place.
Wait, this actually happens in the show?
This happens in the show. And, like, all the people in the lower slums and stuff invade, like, the middle and upper rings and start looting and setting stuff on fire. And
this happens,
and then he's
in
like,
good
yes,
season.
this is exactly what I want. This is chaos. This is the true order. This is what the Avatar should be fighting for all this time. And it's like, no! Stop! That's so stupid. I refuse to believe that he's so stupid.
He said, he kills the queen, and then everyone just immediately goes insane?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's literally
He does a big radio broadcast encouraging everybody to go insane, but again, I don't understand why, there aren't, counselors and generals and, higher up people that are,
and the fucking Dai Li.
Not to mention, the Earth Queen has an heir. He's, pretty important in the next season, the season 4 after that, so,
This
is all accounted for. This is, rulers die all the time. It doesn't always cause, chaos.
This would have worked really well if he was if he had the scarecrow juice.
Yeah, but so okay, but then here's the contradiction again.
Okay,
'cause I was talking about how they depict things. Even though this is all stupid and his plan is stupid, and they don't understand his philosophy that they've written for him,
sure,
he isn't depicted like this. He is depicted as being smart. He is depicted as being knowing what he's doing. He's depicted as maybe being right, What if this is the right thing? Because, the Earth Queen, she was a real bitch, okay? They went out of their way to emphasize just how bad of a ruler she is and how awful Ba Sing Se has become in all this time. Poverty is worse than ever, and, she is just this nasty lady who hates animals, and she kidnaps all the airbenders in her city and tries to force them into, to become soldiers in her secret army or something like that. It's she's a nasty person. It's a good thing she's dead. Again, the way they're framing it as if this guy is cool and clever and has a good plan, and maybe he's ultimately wrong, but maybe he's got a point.
That doesn't make any sense!
But the actual, things that happen, it's you don't understand anything about anarchism, and the weird fucking setup you depicted doesn't make any sense. It's everyone has to be an idiot for that to happen.
Yeah, that's this whole show that you've described to me. It's an idiot plot for 4 seasons. The classic idiot plot. It can only move forward because idiots are the ones in the show.
This season in particular is like that. And I want to emphasize, this is the one that everybody agrees.
This is the good one.
This is the best season. And I'd agree. I liked season 2 more because I liked that Spirit World trash, and the other dumbass shit didn't piss me off that much. But this was the second best season.
For you, yeah.
It's very obvious to me that it is the best season. The villain is a cool, compelling dude. He's got a team of 3 other benders that each have a unique twist on their bending. The Earthbender is the first, magma bender. He just immediately melts all the rocks and into magma, and it's, super powerful.
Sure.
The Waterbender, she has no arms, alright? And she just has, she uses water bending to create, these whip-like tentacle arms that she's super adept with, and she's this crazy, chaotic fighter. And then the Firebender is, Sparky Boom Man?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
The girl version,
They bring back that concept, which is cool that they, they still don't explain it, but whatever, it's a thing. It's a thing. Combustion bending is a thing.
Woo. Okay. That I'm not as politically minded as you.
Yeah.
You're well aware of that. You know that's the sort of thing that in most circumstances would not bother me. What you just described sounds fucking stupid, and I hate it. Like, that's the dumbest thing I've yet heard. Not them, I should clarify. I just mean, like, the idea that the guy who wants anarchy is the most intelligent. I can kind of see that point to some degree, sure. Mm-hmm. But then the outcome of his anarchism is literal chaos for no reason. That sounds fucking annoying as shit to watch. But at the same time, everyone says it's the best season, and it's focusing on Tenzin, who's my favorite character on the show.
I think if you were to shut off your brain, and I hadn't told you all this, and
sure.
you were just to watch your show and shut off your brain, you probably wouldn't question just how dumb it is, because the thing about framing is that it's very good at hiding plot holes. Often,
I can actually point to an example.
Oh yeah?
So, you know how I really like the show Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite. I shouldn't say one of my favorites. It's one of the shows I watch when just to turn off my brain. It's one of the ones I have in my background.
Yeah, I enjoyed a lot of Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah, and it's pretty good. Here's the thing: I've watched it so many times that I've started noticing the crimes that are happening.
Yeah.
And the crimes are never the center point of the show. It's not the point. It's just like a framing device to get everything else there.
Yeah, to make the rest of the story happen.
But if you focus on any of them, they're all unbelievably stupid. Do you want to know one of the ones that was a big part for Terry Crews' character was he, in his original district, or his precinct,
mm-hmm.
he had to solve a quick case. He solved the case. He tried to solve a case for who was doing a bunch of robberies, and he found a guy, and the guy was in a wheelchair, so he couldn't do it because he needed to be like an acrobat to get up there.
Mm-hmm.
Circus trash. They found out he's in a wheelchair, and then later on they found out that he's just not actually in the wheelchair. They go to his house.
Yeah, he's faking his disability. He's actually like an accomplished acrobat.
If you think about how police procedure works at all, there is zero scenario where that works. Like, actually none. He would need to forge the hospital documents of the accident, of whatever happened, him being in the hospital, his recovery. There's no way that anyone would just face value believe that he's in a wheelchair.
Yeah, when all the other evidence points to him.
But that's not the focus. That's not the point. It's the same shit here. The point isn't really, like, the political aspects. It's not what you're supposed to be putting your attention toward. It's the characters and the story that's going on. But you're pointing out the political aspects because that's what, like, niggled at your head, you know?
Exactly.
That's the sort of thing that happens when I'm watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine for the 12th time.
Yeah, unfortunately, this wasn't the 12th time I watched Korra. It was the first time.
Yeah.
Okay. What else did I want to say about Season 3 before I close that? There was some really cool stuff in Season 3. The finale, the final episode in particular, was really good. Like, the final, scene, the final camera shot.
Sure.
It's a very, very beautiful moment. But it's also tied to kind of a larger problem I have, which is less of a problem, more of a personal thing, and maybe not even a thing that I'm qualified to talk about.
Okay.
So, okay, I should just get into it. So Korra winds up getting captured by them, and they poison her with this, weird, unique mercury-style, poison. It's like this weird silvery liquid, and they put it on her skin and it goes into her. And it just wreaks havoc in her. It kind of, psychologically messes her up. Her brain is, thinking that she is, insane danger, so it triggers, the Avatar state, and they're trying to... The plan was to, kill her while she was in the Avatar state, and thus break the cycle of the Avatar regeneration forever, or something like that.
Okay.
And it's a really, really, messed up, brutal scene. And at the end of the season, she is left, in a wheelchair, and just clearly emotionally damaged from the entire experience. It's a very harrowing thing.
Jeez.
Yeah, and, the last season, and one of the reasons why the last season is so good, and one of the reasons why the show arc is so good, is, her kind of recovering from
the events
just being riddled with PTSD. The entire season is her just going through this. And it's a big Korra character arc, which is good. That was the best part of the 4th season, because I'm going to talk about the rest of the 4th season. I fucking hated it.
Okay.
But, okay, my issue with this is a little weird. And like I said, I might be,
unqualified
to talk about it. So, Korra goes through lots of really, really messed up shit through this series. In fact, I'd say in every season, except the 4th one, something really horrible happens to her, and this is meant to further her character growth. So in the first season, she has her bending taken away.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like copped out. Oh, Aang gives it back to her, whatever. But then in the second season, she has that light spirit thing ripped out of her, and it's like bashed against a rock over and over again, and she literally has her ability to talk to the former avatars just cut off. She's cut off from the rest of them.
Right, yeah, that happens.
And that's like it's a really big scene where it shows them like each one like being fizzled into dust every time she gets struck by the bad guy, and it's, a big thing. And then there's this poison aspect where she's left completely crippled and emotionally damaged, and it's like, this is kind of fucked up.
Yeah, sounds like it.
The thing is that it's a really common trope in media to have female character growth through pain and adversity and...
Yeah, Yahtzee.
Yeah.
He talks about this a lot in, like, the Tomb Raider. The Tomb Raider was the one. They do that shit in the Tomb Raider all the time.
Exactly.
Most of the Tomb Raider is Lara Croft getting the shit kicked out of her. And it's like...
And it's not just, like, getting the shit kicked out of her. It's usually very, like, up close and super violent.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just like, oh, you get a game over screen. It's like, no, there's a lingering shot of her being impaled on a tree branch or a spike like or something, and you see her slowly die, and it's gratuitous almost. And I'm like, I'm not trying to, like, pass a big judgment call on people who like Tomb Raider or anything, but it's a writing trope that I wouldn't even have a problem with if it weren't so common.
It's that idea of, like, you want to portray innocence, quote unquote, in the getting, like, overcoming a great pain, but it's like you could easily do that with a guy, because if you put a man in the same situation, it's still, I don't know if maybe as harrowing, but it's still fucking harrowing to see.
Yeah,
it's gonna be gratuitous and horrible regardless, but yet it happens to women more often than men, and it's weird.
Exactly.
I have to agree with you. I don't think I'm, like, qualified to talk about this either.
Yeah,
but
we're both straight white males.
Yeah.
And Korra is a dark-skinned queer female character.
Yeah.
And that makes it worse to me. And especially because, like, the character, the dark-skinned thing, in this universe, there aren't black people, but the waterbenders have darker skin, are the people of the North and Southern Water Tribe. And what's more is that a lot of her personality aspects, that she's, like, really brash and, like, quick to anger and stuff, these are things that a lot of people associate with black women, and I don't like the idea that her character growth is her learning to be less of herself through being tortured and going through basically rape metaphors. Again, this is where I think it's getting weird, and I probably shouldn't talk about it because I'm not qualified to talk about it.
My only input would be, like, I wouldn't consider, like, the race aspect of thing, because I don't think it's as relevant to her character.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the point, maybe. And I don't know, again, I'm as unqualified as you, but that's kind of what I would say.
Her sexuality is pretty irrelevant to her character,
yeah,
too. It's
definitely.
It's not even discovered until the final seconds of the final episode.
I was going to say, a final episode entirely.
But it is but to me, I just can't help but go, in the grand scheme of narratives that focus on dark-skinned queer black women, she is just another one who goes through a violent rape metaphor in order to grow.
I understand. I don't like that thing in, like, media.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just, like, a little bit of us just kind of wanting to be protective, and I don't know if that's like a natural thing. And I know this discussion is getting really weird now.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. It freaks me the fuck out when I see, even, like, especially kids. If you ever see, like, a show or anything where kids are getting, like, horribly like, fucking The Boys comic. Fucking gross as shit stuff going on there, like, implied. You don't ever see anything, but, like, it's in there, and it's like you get that visceral reaction of, like, I don't want that. It's that same shit.
Yeah.
But that was a good season.
Season 3? Yeah, it was a good season.
That's season 4. We're talking about season 4 now.
Oh, season 4 is... Season 4, everyone argues, is a good season. Season 4 was my second least favorite season.
Okay.
And it comes very close to being my least favorite season.
So wait, that means the first is your least favorite?
Yeah, the first is probably my least favorite, but man, the fourth season, this is entirely a political thing, once again. Because otherwise, I think everything else about the season's fine, the storytelling and all that, especially Korra's journey. Like, the thing is, I'm criticizing the use of all those tropes that they use, but it's not like they do it badly. It's not like they don't depict this fairly. They don't, and especially with her overcoming her trauma, that isn't something that happens in the first episode. That is something that takes the entire season to do. Like, she is literally, like, at the North Pole, going through, like, physical therapy, which, you know, she makes some progress on pretty quickly, but then she doesn't for, like, years. There's a big time jump, you know, between these seasons. And then when she comes back, like, she thinks everything's fine, and then she doesn't, and she drifts away, and it's a lot of good stuff in that. And it builds up to an emotional arc that is ruined by the politics for me.
I thought you were going to say that's satisfying. I was so excited.
Okay, so season 4's big bad is this woman named Kuvira. So I don't remember if it was the last season or the season before that is when they introduce Toph's other daughter, who is the leader of this one city of, like, metal benders.
Sure.
And it's, like, the safest city ever, and it's got, like, big metal domes that close up every night to protect it, and she's, like, this kind of chill hippie lady, like the opposite of her sister, basically. And there's a pretty good episode, I'd say, of, like, family tension between, I don't remember her name, the police chief character and her sister, and the stuff that went on in her childhood, which I'm not going to get into because it's not important, it's just a good B-plot.
Sure.
For the most part. But I guess one of her, like, commanders has formed her own army. In the wake of the Earth Queen's assassination, she has taken upon herself to restore order by going through her army, and annexing, like, various towns and settlements, and, you know, having them swear loyalty and their promise for protection so that they could all work together to fix all the problems that have been cropping up ever since the last season.
The Roman Empire.
Well, again, they make it very clear what they're trying to say with the imagery.
Sure.
There's lots and lots of shots of the armies and the generals and stuff and their flags and symbols. And this is the one where they talk about fascism.
Oh, right.
And,
that makes sense.
Wow. This one really fucking offended me. Like, I'm just gonna straight up say it. This is an opinion thing, but I was offended by this season, and I was offended by their depiction of fascism.
Oh, no.
Because out of all of these different political ideologies that they've talked about so far, this is the one that they were the most sympathetic to. And that fucking offends me.
You can't see, viewers, but I just, like, turned my head from, like, straight up, like, down to the side. I went to a 90-degree angle, like,
yeah,
what?
So
I think even, like, hardcore capitalists can agree that fascism's bad, right?
Well, no, hardcore capitalists funded the fascists. Remember, we talked about it last week.
Right. But even, okay, maybe not the hardest of cores, but, like, a lot of them would agree that, like, an over-oppressive government is bad.
Yeah. Well, okay, so, again, they do a bad job depicting fascism.
Yeah.
Which is really weird, because they did a fucking fantastic job depicting fascism in the first season, in that, like, 2 episodes where it was important.
Sure.
But this time, they kind of forgot about the whole, like, crazy nationalism. Well, they have the nationalism, but they don't have, like, the out group, because fascism almost always revolves around scapegoating a particular group of people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, most famously the Jewish people for when, you know, Nazi Germany and all that, but it's not always that. This is something that they kind of, like, skirt around. They focus mostly on the whole military aspect. They do go out of their way to depict the this military as being kind of like the Nazi war machine and stuff like that.
Okay. Why would you do that twice?
Why would they do what twice?
Why would they do that twice? Like that now in this one and then last time and then...
Like I said, I don't think they even meant to depict fascism in the first season. I think they did it by accident.
I meant like in Last Airbender with the Fire Nation.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. They wanted to keep this political theme going, and they're like, this is the time we deconstruct fascism and do a really bad job of it.
So they were showing off the armies and everything?
Yeah, and so Toph is in this season. She is now an old lady who lives in the swamp. I love it.
Yeah.
She says she regrets being a cop, whatever. I don't think she would have been a cop in the first place. That's fine. She was alright in this season. She also is responsible for saying the dumbest line in the entire series. Like, just the worst fucking scene.
You're gonna have to give it.
Well, she's talking to Korra, and they're deconstructing Kuvira and her army and what's bad about them. And Toph is like, well, think about all the people you fought in the past. Amon wanted to take away the bending, and I can't remember his name from the second season. He's so not important. He wanted to bring back the spirits, and in the third season, I forgot his name too.
He wanted to bring anarchy.
Yeah, he was all about freedom. It's like, the problem wasn't their philosophies, it was that they were all very extreme. And I'm like, no, fuck you. Fuck you. Again, the fascism thing, it is not matters of extremism. It's not like, oh, if he's just a little bit fascist, that's okay. No, fascism is, like, as an ideology, I personally believe is just awful no matter to what degree you take it.
Yeah,
if you're a little bit fascist, that makes you a bad person to me. And then it's like, the ending of the season is Korra, like, consoling Kuvira, who, you know, reveals that she was an orphan and she just wanted to protect her country and, like, this other stuff. And I'm like, I hate this so much. I hate it.
I despise when they use the fucking trope of, I had a bad childhood, so everything I did bad is okay. I despise that.
They did that in the first season, you know. They had Amon and his brother were like...
And that was the season that made me stop watching the show.
But, like, they're not sympathetic towards the communists. They're super sympathetic towards the fascist.
It don't make no sense to me.
If you just ignore the political ideologies,
you're fine.
This is a great story of, like, you know, Korra coming to terms with her trauma and growing as a person and seeking to help people, not through beating them into submission, but through empathy and forgiveness. The problem is that Kuvira's a fucking Nazi. Like, that's all there is to it. Not a very great depiction of a Nazi. Like, there's a little bit where, like, apparently the non-Earth Kingdom residents are being carted off to education camps or something like that.
What?
But again, it's not like they do, like, the big fascist things like they did in the first season, where they had the police specifically targeting the non-benders and attacking them during their peaceful protests and enforcing curfews on them and stuff like that, and using them as a scapegoat.
This is weird.
Yeah, it's weird, and it's upsetting. There was other dumb stuff in the season. The final battle features lots and lots of kind of bad-looking CG robots, and especially one giant CG robot that looked dumb. Also, Varric was really important in this season. He was the capitalist character I talked about before. Well, he's a member of Kuvira's army, and she has him trying to create a super weapon, and he kind of realizes, you know, before everyone realizes that Kuvira's bad all along, that the super weapon is too powerful, and he doesn't want it to be used in the wrong hands. And they have a pretty funny scene where he's like, yeah, even I understand that this is bad. Normally I'd just be trying to profit off of this, but you've gone too far.
Man, I probably should have watched the show before I talked to you about it.
Yeah, I almost certainly ruined it for you now.
Yeah, definitely, but I already hated it. Like, at least the first season. I hated the first season a lot.
Yeah, and you didn't hate the first season because of political ideologies.
No, I thought it was poorly written. And I thought it was poorly written. I thought it was poorly done. I didn't like a lot of things they did. Like, I don't like how they projected Korra at the first season, because she was just kind of an annoying asshole. And then she was also the most powerful one ever, and then also she wasn't. Mm-hmm. It all kind of, like, was too many things at the same time. I'm sure. I feel like if watching the show, I would have appreciated her as a character as she grew and became.
Yeah.
Because the way you're describing it seems like positive, despite the the thing we talked about. But yeah, I don't know. I like the last season. I don't know if I would even recognize it as fascism, just because I'm not very smart. But even still, if that's how you're going to portray it, like the second they said the camps, is that the second I would pick that up on?
Education camps.
The second that I picked up on that, that's when I would start to be like, hold up, what are we talking about here? Where are we going? I don't like that. That doesn't make any sense. I don't know, man. That sounds fucking stupid.
The only other thing that's noteworthy is, at the end of the season, at the end of the series, it's implied that Korra and Asami get together.
Sure.
And I felt... I knew about this coming in, and I knew that this is a very important thing, but, actually watching it, it felt a little bit like an ass pull. Because...
Yeah, that's what it felt like.
Their relationship didn't have much time to grow and develop, and that's fair. There's not like they can... strongly depict the lesbian relationship in a children's show back in 2000, whatever this show came out in. This was, the first ever show that had anything that hinted of a lesbian relationship in a children's cartoon.
Sure.
So it gets brownie points for that alone. But, basically, at the beginning of the season, Korra is writing letters to Asami and no one else because she feels more comfortable talking to her. And there's a couple of scenes where they seem to be getting along. And then at the end, Korra just kind of excuses herself out of Eric's wedding where everyone else is having a great time. And she decides she's going to go wander into a spirit portal and just go on her own journey away from everybody else. And Asami decides to catch up with her and go with them. And they have a scene where they look at each other. And then that's the end shot.
I thought they kissed.
No, they don't kiss.
Okay.
You can't show kissing in a children's cartoon. You can't show two women kissing in a children's cartoon. Are you crazy?
I never would have had a problem with it.
No, I mean, I'm joking. It's
I
not.
know.
The greatest thing ever is that if it wasn't for that thing, we wouldn't have the shows nowadays that
like She-Ra, you're talking about.
that exactly will have that 100%, and it's a wonderful, beautiful, emotional moment and all that garbage. But yeah, I wish that was better, but I can't blame them for not making it better.
The conclusion I'm coming to is a couple things. I think the writers really wanted to tell a specific story, but they weren't smart enough to do it.
Yeah.
That seems pretty obvious to me. They really wanted to comment, but, they just genuinely didn't know how. But they couldn't not. Because, the first season they probably thought they were most educated on. And I hated it. Not for the political aspects, but you hated the political aspects for a good reason, because they were poorly done.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's the political aspects in the first season. Let's do a little recap here. The political aspects in the first season was this is a personal opinion that I don't think socialism is actually that bad, but
Sure.
Whatever, that's fine. Especially back then, lots of people think socialism is bad. I'm more annoyed that they so fundamentally misrepresent some things and they draw some really weird conclusions, especially when better metaphors can be sprung up from their ideas in the terms of the racial politics thing I mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely.
And overall, the season was just badly written.
Yes.
But the politics was only one aspect of it.
But it seems like they wanted that to be a thing.
Yeah.
And they wanted that to be a thing, and then they kept going with it. And then at some point they couldn't stop. And it kind of became this thing of until we got to the fourth season. And the third season, which sounds fucking stupid.
Yeah, that's the thing. The third season, it's the best one.
But
it's not my favorite one, but it was the best one. Maybe if they didn't depict anarchism so stupid, it would have been my favorite one.
Yeah, if they had made that an intelligent thing. But yeah, it sounds like they don't know, they want to, but they don't know how a lot. And the other conclusion I came to was, I'm sorry. I think I've forgotten it now. Shit. That I probably wouldn't like it. I mean, I don't think I would like it overall. I think I would like the stories, and I think that what's it called? I think I might be too harsh on Korra as a kid when I watched it the first time.
Yeah, I think it's natural for a lot of people to be. Like I said, when I was going into the show, I assumed that she was going to be the main thing that everyone had a problem with. That wouldn't have been a problem for me personally, because as a character archetype, pretty commonly used one, I think it's one that's very unfairly hated on.
Sure.
And it's not one that personally bothers me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really hoping to see that is the only problem with the show, and I would just enjoy everything else about it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was right. It wasn't a problem for me. It was the best part of the show, in fact. It was everything else that was terrible.
Yeah, and I think like if I did watch it, I'd probably be fine with that. But now that I have that other shit in the back of my head,
yeah,
I would see it to be too much. Granted, I think if I watched that third season and I just like watched that, I probably would have come to not the same exact conclusion, but it's a conclusion of this is stupid as shit and doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because that sounds stupid as shit and doesn't make any sense. I don't know. I'm not that concerned about it, I guess. Like, I really hate the idea that we keep ragging on it, just because I think there are a lot of people who should watch it, who are in my position, who would probably enjoy it and fine.
Yeah.
And I think, like, if you turn your brain off, you can enjoy a lot of shit.
Yeah.
It's one of the ways I try to, like, view all things first, without my brain on. Like, that's why I watched, what's it called? Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I watched that without my brain being on the first time, and it was fucking great. And then I watched it like 13 more times.
Yeah.
And it was fucking great every time.
It's a fucking amazing movie.
I almost can't wait for the second one, but I'm really hoping it's as good.
Yeah, the second Into the Spider-Verse movie is like, I don't need a second one. And the second one might not be good, but it also could be really good.
I'm a little greedy here.
Yeah. I hope it's good. I really love that movie.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm probably still not going to watch it. If I do, I don't know. That's the thing, is like I haven't felt like watching anything. That's why I still haven't watched She-Ra, and I want to watch She-Ra. My little sister loves it.
Oh yeah?
She loves it. She fucking adores it. She tells me that she thinks I would like it. And like you have, and so has Alex. Everyone said that's really good, and I just haven't felt like watching anything. I haven't watched anything besides Best of the Worst, and that's not worth watching.
Yeah, for me, it's I haven't been playing any video. I played a little bit of Civilization 6 today, so we've got time. I can talk a little bit about that,
But first,
I think it's your turn to tell me about something.
I have to tell you about the video game Escape from Tarkov.
Okay. So, Escape from Tarkov is a name I hear a lot, but I don't actually think I know anything about it.
Great. Escape from Tarkov is a bizarrely unique game and shockingly difficult to explain properly so that you understand.
Okay.
Because the thing is it's a lot like DayZ. And you have an idea what DayZ is. You're old enough.
Yeah, well, I've never played DayZ.
No.
I don't think I've ever even watched it. But I know DayZ, it was like originally like a mod, and it's kind of like a survival zombie thing.
Yes.
With massive multiplayer, almost. I think it had some contributions to the Battle Royale genre.
It did. Well, Arma specifically did. Because Arma was where it actually originated, besides Minecraft, technically.
Yeah.
But the idea of DayZ is that you start off with nothing, you loot the area, you get gear, you gear up, and then you find people and you kill them, and then for more gear.
Yeah.
It's a continual grind.
And meanwhile, there's hordes of zombies.
Yes. Well, not hordes. They never could do hordes. It's just a lot.
Well, there's zombies.
That's a whole thing in DayZ. Tarkov borrows a lot of elements of that concept, but cuts a shitload out too. There's no zombies in Tarkov.
Okay, fine by me.
It's mostly player versus player. The way it works is very difficult for me to explain. I honestly I've been trying to rack my head about it, because it's not like DayZ where you're just always a person.
Mm-hmm.
You only are like a character when you go on a raid. Before that, you're in a menu, and the menu is your inventory and your character and a bunch of other like stores and shit, and it's all like menu based. Yeah, you're already confused.
You're like a preparation phase, or
sorta.
It's a pre-combat exploration phase.
So
that's almost as important or as important.
It's sort of like if you had a base in any survival game.
Okay.
But instead of the base being a place where your character goes and like wanders around and does all the shit in the base, it's all menus. As soon as you go in, it's a menu. You have your stash, you have your character, which you can like loot up with all the stuff your gear you found and bought, and that's the way it works. And then whenever you're ready to go in, you gear up and go into a raid.
So you don't start with nothing.
No. You go into a map. There's a couple different maps, and the maps will have gear on them. There's also other players. and there are scavs, which are AI enemies.
Okay.
And there are scav players, which are AI enemies played by players.
How are they AI enemies if they're played by players?
They're not actually. That was just kind of going on with the flow. But they're AI. They're enemies that are in the AI sense. Like, okay, how do they're generated?
They're antagonist. This is a weird way of putting it. They aren't other players. They don't have the same stats as you. They follow different rules, right?
Kind of.
Like if someone were controlling the zombies in Left 4 Dead.
No.
Damn it! I thought I got this.
I know. This is why it's so hard to explain. It's very unique. They are players who are playing a being with random health, random equipment, and that they don't get any experience from. They only have, like, a gun and a backpack and a bunch of other stuff.
Okay, so it just doesn't tie into player progression whatsoever.
Essentially. But it's like you can go in as a scav, you'll not lose any gear, but if you get out, you'll gain a lot.
Oh.
That's the whole idea. So those are the three. There's also bosses, which are really powerful, and AI enemies, and scav raiders, which are just scavs that are more powerful. So that's the game. Whole idea is that you go to a map, you loot it, you come out. It's the simplest game, like, progression ever. Really is. You go in, you get out. That is it.
You keep everything you get, or you die.
Yep. The thing that makes it so compelling is that it's hyper-realistic. And not so much like Arma, where it's annoying, because Arma's just fucking annoying. It's hyper-realistic in that you can't, like, if you shoot out of your gun, your magazine is now down 6 bullets, and you have to either reload it to a whole new one or reload that magazine.
Yeah, you can't just hit the reload button and then not be missing a bullet. I don't know how to put it, but you know how most people just kind of like press that reload button all the time.
How every game, ammo is treated as one resource with an infinite amount of magazines. In this game, it's you have magazines, you have ammunition, they need to go into each other to work.
Yeah. If you have 6 shots in a magazine and you use one of them, if you reload, you lose 5 shots out of your magazine by throwing it away. Or else you have to do a slower reload.
Yes, that's actually exactly what you do. You either, because you don't actually necessarily throw them away. You only do that if you don't have space in your tactical rig or your pockets. But that's not the point. Point is, it's fucking great. It's like a really interesting experience. It's really hard. And what I've been doing recently is getting Aiden into it. Aiden, who we've talked about a couple times, plays board games with us, all that stuff. I've been trying to get him, like, in the game and geared so that we can, like, do cool raids. It's been a fucking challenge.
Why?
Because one of the things about the game is that you go into the map, right, like on a certain, like, spawn locations, and then you have to exit. There's no map.
There's no map to look at.
No. So
a reference map.
You'll walk in, it'll say exfil locations, RUAF, roadblock, and now you have to go find that.
So, just to be clear, no reference map and no mini map either, I'm just going to presume. Is there like a compass marker?
Nope.
Is there a waypoint?
Nope.
Is there a breadcrumb trail?
Nope.
So, they give you physical directions.
Nope.
So how do you find it?
You literally have to find a map made by a fan and learn the map.
When you say by a fan...
A fan has, like, taken the map file, like,
so like
taken a picture
outside resource.
Yes.
Like, I have to go onto the Tarkov wiki and look up that map and someone's fucking hand-drawn...
They haven't hand-drawn it. It's, digital. But, yeah, that's the way you get out.
Otherwise, you just have to explore and find out the exit on yourself without somehow fucking dying.
Yep. Imagine doing that without knowing you have to do that.
Well, okay. If there weren't a way to just find a map online, then I would think that it is kind of a compelling idea that you're like, you have no idea how to get out of this place. You just have to explore until you get out. Definitely makes every raid 1,000,000 times more lethal. But...
Sure.
Like, I think that's a cool idea. This is undermined by the fact that fans just make their own maps anyway. So as long as fans are just making their own maps anyway, the developer should just provide a map.
technically some of them there are in-game maps,
Mm-hmm.
but they're genuinely worthless. The best one I think is Reserves map, which is like it's like a college campus, and it's like a college campus's map.
Oh, but it's an in-world map.
Yeah.
And that's how most of the maps are. They're just useless.
Yeah.
See, in-world maps are like my favorite way of doing maps.
Yeah. But they aren't your favorite way when there's another guy on the other side of that hill over there who has like a high-end sniper with bullets that can kill you instantaneously even if you have armor, and you have to go over there.
And you're looking at a college campus map that says you are here, and I'm like, I don't know where here is.
Exactly. It's so stupid but great. The thing that makes it work is you know how to do it. You just learn the maps at some point.
Yeah, you just play enough and you just know it.
You just literally, like, you can watch streamers, and, like, the best streamers, like Pestily or Landmark, they'll enter into a map, they'll look around and they'll be like, oh, I know where I am, and then they'll immediately go to, like, the best loot spot for that area, and they'll leave.
Yeah.
And it's like, fuck. How do you start? That's the thing that I hate about it, is, like, I've never played a game that's so counter to people playing it who've never played it before.
Yeah. It sounds like it would have been pretty good when it first launched to be one of those people that started.
Yeah.
Because then everyone's starting on equal footing and then are advancing at their own rate.
To be fair, they do have a thing where every few months, or maybe, like, every few months, they wipe. Which is everyone loses their progress, everyone loses all their gear, all their stuff, just so that you're now all on equal footing again, to a degree. You all have the same guns. You don't have to worry about, like, walking into a raid and someone instantly dying, like I have, because someone was like camping that spawn and they had like crazy fucking gear that's insane. Or one time I got killed by a hacker. That was the most annoying shit I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, it's always upsetting when that happens.
I was like a hill. I was walking down the hill and someone jumped into my screen behind a tree, turned and shot me in the head instantaneously. And I was like, how? Why? It was... But it's so fun. It's, like, so addicting. It's so addicting to go in and, like, get out. Every time you get out, you feel like a god, even if you don't get shit. Because you just, like, conquered even just the AIs, or just if you kill a good, like, geared player, that happened to me one time. I was on customs. I know that you're not going to understand this, but I'm going through anyway. I was going through the red warehouse, and I turned right, and there was a scav player in there, and I shot him, and he died, and I took all of his gear, and he had a shitload of good shit. He was geared as fuck. It's so satisfying. Also, it sucks. But it's a great game. It's really good. I really want to play it more, but I also, like, I hate putting the time to play it. Because, like, I got a pretty decent rig at this point for my computer. It's pretty good, but it's not, like, that good. It's not, like, Tarkov good, so when I open into a game, it takes a few minutes.
Yeah, there's the chug.
And then, like, I have to wait for that, and Aiden, who has a slightly better processor than I do, has to wait for me, and it's just, like, kind of annoying, and then we get in, we run around, and then we usually die. But it's a good time. It's a really good time. I really recommend Woody's Gamertag as a streamer to watch. He's really fun.
Oh, yeah?
He's just, like, he was really popular in the COD days of YouTube. Like, he's one of those guys, but he's in a dick. He's, like, always been really wholesome and nice.
That's cool.
He's, like, genuinely, if you watch him, like, the only, like, negative thing about him is that he kind of has that old internet way of thinking, where it's, like, you can kind of go, it's, like, he's a little bit more, like, what's the word? X-rated, I guess? Not X-rated. Like, he's more comfortable by saying, like, doing, like, less appropriate jokes than you would think.
Okay, yeah.
And that's just because he's, like, been on the internet for, like, 30 years.
Yeah, the old school internet crowd.
And he isn't, like, he's not a twat about it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I said, he's genuinely very nice. You know, like, if you ask him a question, he'll try to explain to everything he can to you the best way you can.
But there's a certain, like, class of person who still casually throws around words like retard.
Yeah.
Which isn't as socially acceptable anymore, but there was a point where it just 100% was, and they don't really want to, like, stop using the word that they're just used to saying, you know?
He's not the kind who will say it, but he won't stop you from saying it. He won't bat an eye. That's the way I would put it. And I really like watching his stream. It's really fun. He only has like a few hundred viewers, so you can actually talk to him as a viewer.
It's always nice.
It's so nice. Like if you're watching Twitch, just to be able to talk to the guy. Yeah, that's been my thing. I've been doing that. I've been watching Summit, and I've been watching him play DayZ, and I bought DayZ because it was on sale. And I also bought other games.
Now, DayZ, I feel like... Is there always like a big laundry list of complaints about DayZ and people that are upset about the state of DayZ and the development of DayZ?
There is. I think the development of DayZ is dumb because it's been like 10 years and they really hasn't improved that much.
Yeah.
I have to be clear. To my knowledge, very recently, I believe it's a fan mod, but a fan mod has made the game playable.
Oh, joy!
And it's like...
They give Bethesda a run for their money.
It's like a really cool mod, and I'm sure it's really good. And I haven't got the chance to actually play DayZ yet. I haven't downloaded it because I have no space on my computer. But it's really dumb that it took this long for it to be at that state. And I guess it was playable previously, but it's always had that Arma element. And Arma's not a bad game by any means, but it's a particular kind of game.
Yeah.
It's not a first-person shooter, or even a third-person shooter. You can really even barely classify it as a shooter. It's more of a military simulation.
Military simulation.
And that combined with, like, a fun zombie mod, does not a fun zombie mod make...
The thing that always attracted me, or not attracted me, because I don't actually want to play any of these games, because I know they're not my kind of thing, but the thing that fascinates me about battle royales and these like militaristic survival shooters and stuff like that is that they're games that kind of force the players to treat the game seriously and realistically in order to do well. Like, you're not just running around, like, you know, quick targeting anybody you see, like in a Call of Duty match. You're specifically, like, being very, very careful and methodical.
Yes.
And peeking around those corners and trying to always consider your environment and tactical options. Because if you die, you're dead, and you've maybe lost a bunch of gear because of that, or you've been kicked out of the match, or whatever. And that's neat. It's always been a constant source of disappointment to me that the most popular game in this genre is the one that ruins that concept the most.
Yeah. Summit's been recently playing Miscreated, which is a different game. I don't know much about it, and I don't want to talk about it, but don't look that good. I think it's better. It might be better than DayZ, but I really can't tell. I think, like, Summit and Shroud have been playing the game a lot, and they've been talking about how, like, no one's really got it, you know? No one's really made it that great.
What, that genre you mean?
Yeah, no one's really conquered it.
No one's got the perfect one.
No. And, like, every time we get kind of a little bit closer. And it reminds me a lot of Battle Royales in that sense of, like, every time they make a Battle Royale, it's just a little bit kind of closer, but they always fuck something up.
Yeah, my roommate loves Call of Duty Warzone. He plays it, like, every night.
I enjoy Warzone. It's fine. But, like, the reason I like it is just because it's the most, like, competent military-esque one. But that's not necessarily what I want. Like, I don't know if I talked about the podcast, but I know I've told you that when Fallout 76 was coming out, there was a theory that it was going to be a Battle Royale. And everyone was immediately against that because they were sick of Battle Royales, and Fallout becoming a Battle Royale is dumb. It did eventually become a Fallout Battle Royale. That's a different story. We
did talk about this on the podcast. We were talking about our own ideas for a Fallout Battle Royale and how we would do it better.
Well, then, just to quickly clear up, I said I want it in the vault.
Yeah.
I think that'd be fucking tight.
Yeah.
Cool as shit.
It'd be completely different, too.
Yes, and that's something that, like, I think that no one has ever really done. And it really annoys the shit out of me how there's so many genres where the next step is one small change.
Yeah.
That bothers me beyond belief. I don't understand it. Like, I don't understand why we went from, like, Fortnite to, like, Realm Royale. That was the one that came out very shortly after, and that the whole difference is that one had classes.
I already forgot about that game.
I know you did. Everyone else has. No one fucking plays it. They got rid of...
as classes, doesn't it?
It does. It has characters.
Okay, that's the one I thought had the characters thing. I didn't realize something else came up first that used that idea.
It did. They got rid of the classes in Realm Royale.
Then what's the point?
There isn't one.
Nobody. Okay.
It's fucking high res. I could talk about it again.
Oh yeah, we did. We
I know.
We already had.
I'm not doing it.
This is our first or second episode, actually. I think.
But anyway, yeah, I've been trying to get into that. That's been a genre that's been intriguing me a lot.
Yeah, I don't have the patience, man. Like all that stuff I said was cool. That fascinates me. Being methodical, being careful, really considering your environment and your options. I'd be like, yeah, this is boring.
I genuinely think. I don't think you would like DayZ or Miscreate or any of those.
Oh, I know it won't.
I think you might like Tarkov more than you would expect.
Oh, yeah?
Like, genuinely, just because of how it works and how you don't have to, like, spend 7 hours, like, you know, eating or getting to the point where you can eat.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you played it, I think you would be able to go in, like, maybe die a few times, get out once or twice, and then that feeling of getting out, even though, like, it might have been a bit of a slog, I think you would genuinely enjoy it.
How long does match take? A raid or whatever.
Okay, well...
What's, like, an average length?
I'll put it to you this way. Well, I'm going to tell you that in every raid, you can only be there for about 50 minutes.
15?
50.
50.
Like, don't get that out of freaked out. The way it works is that a map will be out for 50 minutes, and then after that 50 minutes, you can't be there anymore. You just die.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't necessarily go in at the first few minutes. So it might take, like, 10 to 15, but it's you, like, starting...
It's shorter than a game of Dota.
Oh, definitely. Whoa, way shorter than Dota. Unless you want it to be as long as Dota.
Because that's the thing. There's the feeling of accomplishment when it comes to, like, multiplayer games. I understand it. I understand the feeling of accomplishment and how powerful that feeling is. And the nice thing about a 40-minute game of Dota is that feeling is super fucking powerful after those 40 minutes.
Sure.
Enough for you to want to play another 40 minutes of Dota.
If you say so.
But the problem is that, like, the feeling of accomplishment is not the default end of the game.
No.
It's the once in a life, or not once in a lifetime, but the once in a while thing, or else they wouldn't have a feeling of accomplishment.
Yeah, Tarkov's not necessarily like that. I think if you, like, played it a bit, and then you kind of... If you played with me, you'd be fine, because I know the maps to some degree. I know how to play. And that's the same with Aiden. That's why he's into it. But if you played it without me, you'd fucking hate it. Just because you couldn't do anything. You wouldn't be able to figure out how to do anything. And you would have to Google it, and you wouldn't want to go through that effort.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine. But if you played it with me, and then we actually got you out, I think that feeling of being able to just getting out of the fucking raid would, like, be enough for you.
Yeah.
I'm not saying buy it, but if you do, hit me up.
Is it on Xbox Game Pass?
It's not. It's actually not even on Steam. You have to buy it on its own launcher.
Oh, god damn it.
It's worth it.
It's worth it, but that bothered me.
It does. It's so annoying. You can, like, you can add it to Steam because Steam has that as a thing, but, like, you don't want to. It's just, it's a really good game. So, Civ.
I don't have much to say about Civ.
I've never played Civ 6, only 5.
I started with Civ 4.
Okay.
And I literally played Civ 6 for the first time today. I just played the tutorial, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
But, well, if you've played Civ 5, maybe you can start off by talking about Civ 5 and your experience with it. Like, to our listeners, if you've never heard of the video game series Sid Meier's Civilization...
I can do that.
Yeah.
Civilization is a turn-based strategy game where your goal is to create cities, have them prosper, and continue on growing a tech tree, similar to Twilight Imperium that we talked about before.
Yeah.
In a sense. And you have to keep progressing and progressing and progressing, and eventually you'll either need to take over the world through, like, religion, science. You can do it forcibly, I think.
Yeah.
In a couple different ways. And you're always playing as, like, a version of someone in history.
Yeah.
I like to think there's a person who's been playing Civ 4 since it came out. He's been on the same game.
I mean, I think I might have a Civ 4 game still going somewhere.
Well, it's literally, like, he's been playing it for years, and every time he, like, gets an upper hand against George Washington gets an upper hand, and it's been going on.
Yeah, it's a weird fantasy to live through. So, listeners, the main gimmick of Civilization is that, it's the turn-based strategy game that's based in a historical setting, but it is literally starts from the dawn of civilization, where you are just a hunter-gatherer community, first developing agriculture and making the first settlement, all the way into the modern day and speculative near future, where you've got, spec ops people fighting giant robots in some versions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's a very, very long game. It's a very, very complicated game. Lots and lots and lots of different systems, but unlike Twilight Imperium, since you're the one who brought that up, this is a video game, and you've got a computer that likes to monitor all these systems and has a very handy, this is probably what you should click on, and if you're a master of the game, actually, I think I want to get this instead, but if you just do exactly what the computer tells you to do, you'll do alright, you'll have a lot of fun doing it. So Civ 4 was the first one I played, and I discovered it in a Scholastic catalog as a kid.
That's fucking hilarious.
It is hilarious. I'd never fucking heard of it before, but I had a computer, and it was a video game. I wanted to play video games on my computer. My parents were, always about, buying games for me, but this is an educational game out of a Scholastic catalog. You gotta let me get it. Holy shit, dude. Because the funny thing is that, especially because of Civ 5, Civilization is a huge video game series now. It's very popular.
Yeah.
But back then, I had no idea what I was getting into. And that's something magical.
I love the idea that it was in a Scholastic thing as an educational game with Gandhi's in it.
Yeah, Gandhi fucking firing nukes. That's a hilarious, famous Civilization meme for people who've never played it.
Should we explain where it came from?
Well, the original Civilization, there was just like glitch, I think.
Yeah, it was a glitch.
Gandhi's pacifism was so high it rolled over into psychotic death.
Psychoticness, and then they found it so funny they kept it in for years.
Yeah, it was just like, okay, well, you get to the very end of time, and eventually Gandhi decides to build nukes and kill everyone with nukes. So yeah, Civ 4... my theory is that the first Civ game you play is the one that you're going to end up being most attached to. I have a friend named Michael who is a frequent listener of the podcast, and Civilization, I think, is his favorite series. He just loves grand strategy games in general. Like, I don't know if Crusader Kings, for instance, might pass up Civilization, but I have a hard time believing. I think it's just a personal, he loves this game.
Sure.
He played Civ 5 first. That was how he was introduced to it.
Same.
And to me, it's like this weird, disconnect where it's like, yeah, this is obviously better, but is it really? Civ 4 had so many special things about it that was just unique to it.
Sure.
And now, Civ 6, he had a hard time getting into it, and it took a while, especially after the expansions came out, for him to go, no, this is definitely the best version. In the same way that I would have done the same with Civ 5. I'd be like, yeah, Civ 5 is just better than Civ 4. There's no question of it.
Sure.
And now I'm playing Civ 6 for the first time myself, literally today. And, holy shit, it's been a long time since I played Civ, and I forgot just how fucking much of it there is. It's such a big-ass goddamn game, dude.
That's one of the reasons I don't play anymore, just because it's so much.
It's so much.
I don't want to.
Because it's not just okay, well, you've got cities, and you can micromanage those cities to, the finest detail. It's like, oh, I am picking where every single civilian is working, which plot of land that they're working on to maximize my food output and productivity output and gold output, and then at the same time I'm establishing trade routes between my cities and between foreign cities, and that's what builds roads in this version of the game, which I think is neat, because originally you just have workers do nothing but build roads all the time. You just set them on automate and they do that. And then you've got tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of different units through multiple time periods, starting off with warriors and slingers and eventually going into different types of tanks and attack helicopters and Air Force units that need to be based and tons of naval units, and it's I don't know which is better than what. It's not a simple system. It's well, if I have a lot of this, that's probably just as good as having a few of those, and I already had a bunch of them, so I might as well just keep investing into this or something. I don't have I don't know, iron to make swordsmen, so I'm going to just make more spearmen. This is that kind of stuff.
This is exactly what I was thinking. I think it's when I get home from work, or if I'm trying to play games, I don't really want to go. I don't want to think that hard about it.
That's the thing. It's just opportunities to think about stuff.
Sure.
They want you to micromanage everything, or they don't. They'll let you just have the computer choose it for you. But then what's the point? You're not playing the game, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
especially when you're learning it, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to play like multiple games of this to get back into Civilization and understand what I'm doing.
Are you excited to get back though?
Well, okay, so one of the cool things about Civ 6 specifically is that whoever was like the lead developer or something on the game, or they contracted someone who's very famous for designing board games specifically.
Right.
And they've changed a lot of systems between 5 and 6. I'd say there's more changes between 5 and 6 than there were between 4 and 5. Like, the biggest difference between 4 and 5 was there's a hex grid, and you can't stack a million units on top of one another to make a super unbeatable unit. Which is the reason why combat in Civ 4 sucked, and why Civ 4 was the best game, because nobody focused on combat.
Sure.
Personal aside. But Civ 6, like, the new government system is really, really cool, where you choose the different types of government, but then each one has, like, different slots for abilities, and it's like, okay, well, these are combat slots, these are economic slots, these are diplomatic slots, and depending on which one you have, you've got more or less slots of each type, and then you get to pick each one to put in the slots.
I think that was in Civ 5.
Kind of, but you also research these governments and these policies in the same way you research technology. They're a big tree. I don't know exactly what the term is. And like all of these systems, it's like, this is cool, this makes sense. And this is very, very gamified of what would be a very complicated thing, made easy to understand, but then made complicated again when you actually look at all the different numbers and wondering how much those numbers are actually changing this. It's like, okay, well, I can apparently produce cavalry 50% faster with this, but this one lets me produce ships 100% faster, so I guess the cavalry one's good if I don't have ships, but is that better than getting a bonus against barbarians or getting double gold when I raise structures?
Which of the two of us do you think is being more obtuse in our video game talk?
I think I am. And that's the thing, it's like, you just play this all the time and you do learn that, and that's the fun, is learning what is the better option, and
sure.
And then experimenting with the ones that you don't think are that good, but hey, maybe there's a really cool thing you can do there. But it's so big. It's such a big fucking game.
Yeah, I think that's might be my biggest issue. Is like, I wouldn't want to go through all that effort for like 3 games of that would be like, how many days do you think?
I mean, I used to play matches of Civ 4 over like a few hours. You know, it would be like a 4-hour fucking sit down. Because the weird thing is that once you get into it, it is fucking addictive.
Sure.
In fact, they play on that. Like, you get to the end state of the game, like the final turn, where whoever has the highest score wins if someone didn't do a proper, like, you know, victory where they take over the world or build a space shuttle to Mars or whatever. And then their option is, okay, do you want to quit? Or do you want just one more turn? And of course you click one more turn and you just keep playing that same map that's already over, because I've got my fucking perfect civilization, but it's not completely perfect. I still gotta annex Egypt now and build more nukes so I can fire them at India because he fired nukes at me. The reason I got Civilization is because it was on sale, and I don't even know if it's on sale now as we're talking about it. It certainly won't be on sale
when we actually
when
release
we're
this.
putting this out, because I think with the main game, the 2 major expansions, all the little content updates that add like new civs to play as, I think it's like $140 altogether, $160 or something like that.
No thanks.
I mean, with the sale, I got all of it for like just under $50, so can't really complain there. And the 2 major content expansions, you definitely want those. Like, I think the first one was all about like espionage and spying on the other civs and getting information about them and stuff like that. And then the second one is really cool. It's about natural disasters and global warming and,
oh, that's cool.
you know, stuff like that. The stuff that really fucks up the game, especially in like the late game scenarios. Like, my friend Mike never shuts the fuck up about it.
Okay.
But he's right, it's cool. Oh god, yeah. I would definitely recommend everyone try Civilization. I guess Civ 6 is as good of any place to, you know, dip your toes into it.
I feel like a lot of people have Civ 5 because it was free a couple times.
Yeah, okay. I mean, Civ 5 is free. Yeah, just get Civ 5. It's still really, really good.
Free. I think it was free a few times. So
yeah, well, the next time it's free. Whichever one goes on sale first is my point.
Yeah, I'd say that.
I've got one hyper petty complaint about the whole series.
Tell me.
Civ 4.
Okay.
The opening cinematic of the game. You launch the game, and without hitting escape or anything like that and going to the title screen, it was, in my opinion, one of the best opening cinematics in video game history.
Okay.
Again, I had no idea what I was getting into at the time, but that cinematic made it very apparent. It's this beautiful... It opens on, like, this beautiful shot of the planet Earth, and then, like, you know, little dots of light appear on it, like cities at nighttime glowing up, and it kind of zooms in, and you see battles, and you're flying under, like, arrows being fired, and catapult shots, and then, like, through cities, and people talking, and representatives, like, making deals, and, you know, going forward through time, and all this stuff. And all the while, it's playing this song. This amazing fucking song that was composed specifically for this game by this, this famous composer. It's called Baba Yetu. You can look this up on YouTube. I highly recommend it. Baba, one word, Yetu. It was actually, the Our Father, prayer from Christianity being sung in, like, Swahili, and it's just a banging fucking tune.
Okay.
And it's so fucking dramatic and cool, and it just makes you just explode with the possibilities of, like, all of history unfurling and you being able to control, like, every single aspect. That's, like, the coolest fucking thing ever. Then when you install the first expansion, it replaces with the cinematic with something just worse.
Oh.
And you install the next expansion, it replaces it again for some reason. And then in Civ 5, this song was composed specifically for use in Civ 4. They didn't carry it over for Civ 5. It does the same kind of cinematic as, you know, they did for the expansions of Civ 4. And again, these ones are replaced by the new ones. And I already had the expansions, you know, installed when I turned on Civ 6. So this one was clearly about those natural disasters because that was the latest big expansion. So, like, it was bizarrely specific and it didn't, like, introduce the game, like, magically to me like that original opening cinematic did.
This is the hyperest of petty things you've ever fucking said to me.
But man, I don't know why that song hasn't been made the official theme of Civilization. It's so good.
Maybe other people aren't into it as much?
No, that's not true. You just look up the song and you'll see, like, people fucking going wild for it.
Okay, well, you'll also see people, like, not going wild for it if you look for it. Like, what do you want?
No, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, oh, holy shit, this song is so good. Why isn't this in the new Civs? Is, like, pretty much the attitude.
Okay.
Like, if they don't know about it, then they don't know about it. But it's like, why would you hide this? This is so good. Why would they even change it? Why did they change it in Civ 4 when you plugged in the expansion? They just made that experience worse.
I don't know what you want from me.
I don't want you to... I'm not...
Let's
you don't
petition.
need to play devil's advocate here.
Let's petition them.
Like I said, it's the hyperest, pettiest complaint
all three of our viewers, you better fucking be, like, making 12 accounts on Twitter, @ing Civ 6 and being like, yo, put the song in.
Yeah. I think the real reason I'm just talking about Civilization and not doing a good enough job representing it is so that I can finally get Mike on this show so he can just fucking gush about Civilization and how cool it is.
How long will that take?
Oh, that'll be the whole episode. We won't have time to do anything else.
Oh, I can't wait.
We'll have to edit it out, in fact, because it'll just be so long.
We'll have to edit out. We'll have to edit out Mike doing that entirely, and then just
It'll be like a 3-hour-long episode of him talking about Civilization.
And we'll just... I'll just leave this here and go to the store.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Mike, I know you're listening. Come onto this podcast already.
I want that to happen, but I also don't want to talk about Civ for that long.
Okay, I was joking. I promise you won't do that. Especially because right now he's been playing lots of Crusader Kings.
Oh, okay. Third one?
An even more complicated game.
Great.
And I think he's been playing The Sims.
Has he played RimWorld?
No idea. We'll have to ask him.
Mike, you should play RimWorld. I think you'd be into it.
This is now a podcast for Mike.
Silas has been really into RimWorld recently.
Oh, yeah?
Him and Jake have been talking about it all the time. It's getting kind of old.
Well, let's bring Silas back onto the podcast and talk about RimWorld.
No, we'll bring Jake on.
That's a good idea, yeah.
Yeah.
Makes a lot less frustrating to talk to than Silas.
We could bring on both, but we don't have enough room.
Anyway. So, is there anything else you want to talk about?
Nah, I'm good.
I think I'm good too.
Yeah, I think we're spent, as the kids say. Plug time. We have a Twitter at ourwaffle at twitter.com. I have no consistency with where I start and end the plugs.
Yeah, I noticed.
At Our Waffle, the time, not the concept. We have our YouTube channel, the Waffle Hour Podcast, on YouTube.com. We have an email that you can email, the Waffle Hour Podcast at gmail.com. And we have a bunch of other streaming services that you can all find on our Twitter as a pinned comment with like Deezer, Spotify, Pocket Cast, stuff like that. You can check us out there. That's it. That was all of them.
That's all of them?
I think. Not like all of them, but like I couldn't go through all of them. I don't have all of them. Now we have to say goodbye so we can keep going. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
We did it.
We did it.
All right, now we can.
I can finally stop thinking about Korra. I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, me too. I don't think about it very often, but every once in a while I'm just like, should I?